Yeah, hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. This video is about ammunition. It's going to be a basic guide to ammunition within the game. The first thing is there are approximately 5 different types of ammunition within the game. There is AP, which is armor piercing. There's APCR, which is armor piercing composite rigid. There's HE, which is high explosive. There is HESH, which is high explosive squash head, and HEAT, which is high explosive anti-tank. There's a lot of differences between the rounds. There's something called normalization. There's something called overmatching, which has to do with how it penetrates the armor. There's also the fact that AP and APCR are affected by distance. If over distance, they penetrate less and less. HE, HESH, and HEAT do not. There's something called pre-detonation. What can happen with an HE round is it can detonate without penetrating the armor. There's a ricochet angle. There's a muzzle velocity. The HE high explosive rounds are slower. They could be half the speed, and the APCR is a lot faster. So if you're looking at hitting a fast-moving target, you can use the APCR, increase the chance that you're going to hit it. And if it's a non-moving target, you can fire HE at long distances, etc. There is splash damage. HE rounds and HESH rounds have splash damage, which means you can miss the target by about a meter on a regular tank and still do damage to it. Or you can damage more than one tank with one shot because it hits one tank and then you have splash damage that hits another tank. And you have a burst radius for SPGs, which can damage, in many cases, 3 tanks at the same time. So that's a little bit about the differences between the different types of ammo. And the ammo is unique in many ways per gun. So as you move up, you're going to end up buying hundreds of different types of ammo. Some ammo is going to work with more than one tank and more than one gun, and some will not. So when you sell your ammo, make sure that you use there's a special option on selling ammo. I'm going to show you right here. You go to the depot and you look up shells. You can see not compatible with my guns. This is not compatible with any of my guns, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going to sell it. But you can see over here we have ammo in the depot that's not being used. However, it's compatible with my guns, which means that as I fire rounds with whatever gun that is, it's going to start using up this ammo in the depot. I don't know how I get this ammo in the depot, but that's where it is. Okay, now you might want to ask, when do you use different types of ammo? AP is a general all-purpose ammo. APCR has higher penetration, which means that you can penetrate stronger armor using APCR. And number 2, the velocity is a lot faster. So if it's a fast-moving target off in the distance, you're going to have a better chance of hitting it with APCR than with AP. With high explosive rounds, you can cause damage, but it's going to be a fraction of the total potential if you hit strong armor and it doesn't penetrate. So with a high explosive round, you're going to want to hit the weaker armor, which is the side armor or the rear armor. And keep in mind, you can hit the weak armor like the roof or the side armor. You see where it says Hunter? That's side armor. You can hit it on from the front. You just got to graze the side. And you use high explosive rounds when you want to set the engine on fire. You hit low where the axle is. With something that has a big burst radius, does a lot of damage, you increase the chance of setting the engine on fire. I tested it in a training room, and APCR and HE did far more damage, far more likely to increase engine fires, but HE was the one that absolutely was most likely to set the engine on fire. In terms of cost, you can buy it using silver credits or you can buy it using gold. Someone might be in a clan, they win a lot of gold, they have a lot of gold to spend, they might spend it there. I've seen discounts on ammunition before, but the last time I saw a discount on ammunition was perhaps 2 years ago. They just don't do it anymore. Okay, another aspect about ammunition is that it's shared on many tanks. So, for example, this shell might be used on more than one tank. So keep that in mind. When you sell your tank, the ammunition might be useful on another tank that you own. There's something called a hotkey arrangement. This is key number one. Another one is key number two. Another one is key number three. When I first started out, it was very confusing until I came up with a standard. And my standard is AP on position number one. The second position, you can obviously change the order. I use APCR or anything that is the expensive round, like in this case, it's the heat round. Higher penetrating round costs more, key number two, and high explosives I put on key number three. I use that for almost every single tank. I've got 133 tanks, and once I did that, I had a system down. Key number one, cheapest ammo. Of course, HE is cheap too. Key number two, higher penetrating, more expensive. Key number three, high explosive. Okay, you also have a loadout. This particular tank holds 33 rounds. I put a third, and a third. I have 11 rounds of AP, 11 of heat, and 11 of HE. And the reason why is because I know when to switch. It's rare that you're going to fire more than 11, and this is a heavy tank. It's got a 9-second reload. It's rare that I'm going to use up 11 AP rounds in one game. So I don't have to worry about using the more expensive rounds. I'll switch to the more expensive round when I'm up against a difficult tank with difficult armor, like a Type 5 Heavy. And I'll use the HE to reset the cap, or if I'm up against a strong tank like another M103, and I don't want to pay more, let's say you just see his turret. I'll switch to HE, and I'll hit the side or the roof armor so I can do damage while the other ones would ricochet. So that's why I use a third and a third and a third. Some people are going to use all of their ammo on the AP, or maybe they'll use one round of HE. There's a lot of people who do it that way. This is very common. All your ammo, 99% on AP and one round of HE. There's some people that are going to use one round of the premium ammo or the gold ammo and then one on HE. There's some that are going to do it 50-50. So this will be 16, and this will be, perhaps 16. So they'll use 16 rounds of AP, 16 of the premium gold rounds, and then one high explosive rounds. I did that at one point until I learned how to use HE rounds. When I learned how to use HE rounds, there's a video that I have that explains on how to do it. Then I started doing it a third, and a third. So it takes a while to learn the loadout, and during game you have to remember when to switch. So that's one of the things that you might want to practice if you're not good at it yet. There's also something in the loader here. We're going to look at his skills. It's called intuition, and this has to do with the ammunition. What it means is that if you have this perk, sometimes you start reloading, but you want to switch rounds. You fire a shot and it ricochets off the turret, and you say, well, I'm going to have to use an HE round, but you didn't press a HE round fast enough, so it's loading an AP. With HE, there's a chance it'll make the switch for you. So that's an ammo-related perk. It's good for people who have a long reload, perhaps like an SPG, and they might need to make that switch, and they want that chance that it's going to make the switch for them. So intuition is probably the least used skill or perk in the game, but it's good for people with a long reload like an SPG that haven't yet mastered the skill of switching ammo. Okay, so that is my basics about ammunition in the game. My advice, don't spend the money on the APCR. Always put one in your tank to learn, until you learn how to use it. Put one APCR Learn to switch between the rounds. Learn when to use it. Once you learn how to use it, start adding more APCR. Same with HE rounds. Also, on the internet or over here in game, it shows you the penetration values. In this case, the penetration goes up by 80. You know, it's 258 for AP, but 340 for APCR. That's a huge difference. So the penetration goes up dramatically using APCR. Another issue is if you have a premium tank, let's say the T34, you earn a lot more credits. Excuse me. So with the Type 34, you can go out with just the gold rounds and shoot them all, and you'll probably make enough credits back to pay for what you spent. But with a regular tank, you probably won't unless you have a good game. So you get more benefit with gold rounds. It's more cost effective to use gold rounds. With a tier 10 tank, it's very expensive when you lose. It's going to cost you a lot of money. So you're probably less likely to use APCR rounds with a tier 10 tank. You have to be a little bit more careful how you spend your APCR rounds. Okay, so that's my video about ammunition. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.